Earned value analysis is one of the most dreaded topic in PMP certification exam. Many students, many aspirants have come back and said that this is the topic that they are most scared of. They either want the topic to be removed from the exam or they wish or they hope that there should be minimum questions from this topic. Partially because in our daily life we may not have used this technique in our project management. In this video, which is a recording of our live session that we conduct in our training program, you would learn everything about earned value analysis that is important for PMP certification exam. I have tried to show some graphs, some charts, discuss some examples, real life scenarios, which will help you in understanding this topic even better. After going through the video, do let me know if you have learned something new or if it has helped you understand the topic better. In the description box, you will also see a link where I have given 10 questions based on the topic, which will help you practice this topic even better. You can go to that link, take those 10 questions. Every question has been explained in detail. You will be able to confirm your understanding of this topic. Even after that, if you have any doubts, you have any confusion, then do let me know. My contact detail is in the description box. We'll connect and we'll discuss about this topic. Earned value management. Okay. What is an earned value management? The idea here is that we will monitor our progress throughout the project. So if it is a 12 months project, then let's say, for example, every month, we will check whether we are as per our schedule, as per our budget. Okay. If it is a 6 months project, we may do it every 15 days. If it is a 3 years project, we may do it every quarter. So depending on the team's decision or the stakeholders' expectations, we will decide how frequently do we need to monitor the progress of our project. And while we are monitoring that, we will check for the variation between plan and actual. So whenever we check, let's say, for example, today is, 7th July. Okay. So on 7th July, if I'm checking the progress of a project, then what will I do? I will see my plan. What was my plan? What was I supposed to achieve till now? What all work should I have done? Right? 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, that would become my plan. Now, in completing that work, what was my plan for spending money? How much money would have I spent? How much money did I plan to spend? Okay, so I will have a plan of understanding how much work I should have done and how much money I should have spent. I will compare that with my actual. Okay, so till today, let's say, for example, 7th July, if my plan was to complete 40% of the work, that becomes my plan. Then I will check it with my actual. What have I done? Have I done 50%? Have I done 30%? Have I done 60%? Have I done exactly 40%? What is it that I have done actually? So I will look at the work that is already completed and compare it with my plan. Now, in completing this 40% of the work, I would have also planned to spend some amount of money. Let's say, for example, $4 million. So if $4 million was my plan to spend in completing 40% of the work, then I would like to compare it with my actual. Right? Is it $5 million? Is it $3 million? Or is it exactly $4 million? Now, based on that, I will have my result, plan versus actual. That is my first step. So first I will monitor and check, I'll measure what is my actual, and then I'll compare it with my plan. Based on the result that I will get, I will evaluate why did that happen. If there is a variation, whether it is more or less, we need to know that reason. So even if you are doing more work than what you had planned, you should still know, okay, why was the estimation wrong? Right? If you are doing less work than what you had planned, then you will need to check why is my execution wrong? Where is the mistake? You have to understand that mistake. You have to understand the reason for the variation, whether it is variation in schedule or it is variation in cost. We have to understand the reason for variation. And once we have understood the reason for variation, then we need to control, which means then we need to take some action to ensure that budget and schedule are brought back to the plan. We should try for that. It may be possible, it may not be possible, but we should always try to figure out, okay, how can I reduce the impact of this variation? The whole idea is called earned value management. This part of monitoring the variation is called earned value analysis. So when you compare your plan versus actual, you call it earned value analysis, and the entire set of the activities put together is called earned value management. Now the question is, what is earned value then? And why do we need to do that? And why is it called earned value management? Why can't we just call it measuring performance? Why can't we call it performance management? Right? Why is it called earned value? Because very specifically, and we are talking about traditional approach projects, okay? Very specifically in traditional approach project, we always try to capture the plan, the actual, and the earned value as well. That makes the basis of the measurement. So there are three things that we need to know in order to carry out the earned value analysis. First is called planned value. Okay? Planned value is the estimated value of the work that was planned as of today. Okay, so as of today means 7th July. We are doing a measurement on 7th July 2024. So as of today, what is the estimated value of work to be done? So first is work to be done. So what was my work to be done? Let's say, for example, it was 40%. So as of today, I should have completed 40% of the work. Now, if I want to know the planned value, I will check what was the estimate for this 40% of the work that we had planned for. For example, if we are doing a 10-floor building, construction building, okay, 40% would mean 4 floors out of 10. So in completing the 4 floors out of 10, and this is just a very simple comparison, okay? I mean, we could do all the 10 floors structure first and anything later, but we don't have to worry about it. For now, let's assume that this 40% meant 4 floors absolutely complete. Okay, so in completing those 4 floors absolutely to the end, what was it that we had estimated? Let us take our example. It was estimated to be $4 million. Okay, that becomes my planned value. So when I'm doing earned value analysis, my planned value is the estimated value of work that was planned as of today. So till today, whatever we had planned for, what was its value that was estimated? That becomes my planned value. It is $4 million. Okay. Second value is earned value. Earned value is the estimated value of work actually completed as of today. 40% was my plan. I had planned to complete 4 floors. Okay, but what is it that I have actually done? Let us say we were good, we did a good job, and we could complete 50% of the work. Which means out of 10 floors, we completed 5 floors. Right? So instead of completing 4 floors, which was our plan, we did a great job and we could complete 1 floor extra, which means 5 floors. Now, if I have to understand my earned value, then my earned value would be estimated value of work actually completed. So my actual completed work is 5 floors. I will not look at my expenses. I will not look at my bills. I will look at my budget, the plan that I had created. I will look at my cost estimate, all those analogous, parametric, 3-point estimation, all those techniques that you have used, bottom-up estimate, and you created the work estimate, right? You created the budget. So you will look at that and you will see, okay, in completing the 5 floors, what was my plan? How much should we have spent? So that plan, let's say, for example, for simplicity of discussion, it was $5 million. Right? So that $5 million becomes your earned value. See, you had planned to complete 40% of the work. You have actually completed for 50% of the work. So you have done one floor extra, which means you have earned more than what you had planned. And if you look at the value, does it tell you the same thing? Yes. Right? So this way, what you have done is you have converted your work that you do in monetary value. Why? Because when the unit becomes same, it is easier to compare. When you convert the work that you have done in estimated value terms, you will also be able to know your actual expense. We have not discussed it yet. And you will be able to compare with these values and you will come to know whether you're spending more, spending less, whether you're doing more, doing less. Right? So if you look at this value, earned value is $5 million. Planned value is $4 million. So you are earning more than what you had planned, which means you are doing more job or more work than what you had planned. Only then you will earn more, right? I mean, now here, earning more does not mean the salary that you will get or does not mean the customer that will pay you. It is just a theoretical value that you want to calculate because it helps us in easy measurement of our progress. Okay, so if you look at planned value and earned value, you come to know that, okay, it is a difference between the work that was planned to be done versus the work that is actually completed, which means it tells me about my schedule. It tells me about my schedule performance, whether I'm doing more or whether I'm doing less work than what I had planned. So on 7th July, which is today, I had planned to do 40%, but I have completed more than that, which is 50%. And it is very much visible through planned value and earned value as well. Okay. Now, there is one more term which would help us in understanding the cost, and that would clarify some more doubts, and then I'll take questions. Okay. So the third point is actual cost. Okay. Actual cost is the cost of actual work completed as of today. What is actual work completed? Whatever we have done till now. So today is 7th July 2024. What all things have I completed? I have completed 5 floors, right? So what is my actual work completed? 50%, which is nothing but 5 floors. And what is this value that I'm talking about? I'm talking about the cost of actual work completed, which is my actual cost, which is my actual expense, the money that I have already spent, the invoices that I have already received. You may not have done the payment, but the invoices that you have already received, which means you are liable to pay. Now, whether you pay today, tomorrow, it doesn't matter, but that is the cost that you have to pay because that amount of work has been done. Right? So the cost of actual work completed is your actual cost. Now, what have you completed? 5 floors. Now, in completing the 5 floors, you had planned to spend $5 million. Okay. But in actual, let's assume that you have spent $6 million. What does that mean? It means that you are spending more than what you had planned in doing the same amount of work. Probably you did better in terms of time. You could do one floor extra, but in doing that one floor extra, you spent more money. Maybe you had more resources, and that's why you could finish some work faster, but ultimately resulted in your budget getting overshot. So what is my actual cost? My actual cost is the money that I have spent in completing my work, which is nothing but $6 million. Now let's compare the earned value and actual cost. What does this tell me? It tells me that I'm earning $5 million, or we can say that at or on 7th July 2024, I have earned $5 million, but I have spent more. I have spent $6 million, which means I'm not doing good in terms of cost. I'm not doing good in terms of money. I'm not saving money. I'm spending more. While when we compared the planned value and earned value, our plan was to do the work worth $4 million. But actually, we earned more, we did more work, and we earned $5 million. Now you will see the value of earned value and the value of converting everything into dollars. Just by looking at these three numbers, you can actually compare the schedule and cost both. If you don't use these numbers, it will be difficult to understand what's happening with respect to cost, what's happening with respect to schedule. It can be calculated. It can be calculated separately. Okay. But you will not be able to combine it and see the picture. You will only know that, okay, I had planned to spend till now on 7th July, I had planned to spend $5 million, but I've spent six. Until now, I had planned to do certain work, but I have done more or less work. But it will only be at as per the time. You will not come to know about the work that you have already done. And you want to calculate that, you will have to calculate two more parameters. Okay. So if you do it in a normal way without understanding the earned value, you will have to calculate 4, 5 different parameters. And then you will come to know about your picture of your project. Right? But if you convert all those things into earned value by just these three values, you will come to know everything. And based on these, because they are basis for measurement, based on these values, your further measurement and your estimation and your forecasting is dependent. So if your forecasting, analysis, and measurement is dependent on certain values, the lesser it is, the better it is. Right? If you have 5 different values here, you will have to remember 5 values, and then you'll have to multiply all these 5 parameters with all the other parameters. For example, let us say if I compare planned and earned, I get about my schedule. If I compare earned and actual, I get a knowledge about my cost. But if I have 5 things, I will have to compare those 3, 4 other things as well. Right. So one thing, when you convert everything into earned value, or when you calculate the earned value, it is a much, much better term or parameter which would help you in quickly understanding what is happening with respect to schedule and what is happening with respect to cost. And you will be able to compare both of them as well. How are you faring as per the schedule with respect to cost, or in cost with respect to schedule? Because ultimately the project is integrated. Right? Even if you know about schedule performance or cost performance separately, but if you don't integrate it, it will be difficult to take decisions in the project. And we'll talk about all those things. Okay. But because we have just started, so I'm telling you, it is important that we calculate earned value. It makes things easier. Okay. To calculate the progress and understand what's happening in the project. And more importantly, it helps us in taking decisions. We are not taking decisions in silo. That, okay, I'm thinking about schedule and I'm only thinking about schedule. I'm thinking about cost, then I'm only thinking about the cost. The minute you calculate earned value, you're thinking about both schedule and cost, so that you are able to take better decisions. That is why we convert all the work into values. And when you convert into values, you can compare better. Your unit is same. It is always in dollars or rupees or Canadian dollars, Australian dollars, whatever you use. Okay, so you'll always move your currency into one part. You subtract it, you divide it, you multiply it. You can do it all at ease. So to simplify the calculation, you convert into earned value and you convert everything into dollar value terms. Okay, that's the basis of measurement. Is it clear, everyone? Randhir, you had a question. Please go ahead.
No, that got answered.
What answer? Okay, good. That's what I expected. All right. So, is it clear, everyone? Very clear on per planned value, earned value, initial cost. This is just the basis of measurement, and that's why I'm clarifying here. Because based on this, we will calculate all the other values. And there are around 10 more formulas that we are going to see, which will be based on this. Just a
Yeah,
quick
please.
confirmation, please. Yes. All right. Thank you.
Amit, just a simple question. Can we also say that earned value is the value which we bill against the work which we have completed?
Um, we can say so, because the moment you complete the work, you would want to bill it. Okay. So we can say that as well. But the point is, you will bill maybe at by adding some margin to it. Right. Uh, so let's say, for example, if your cost is maybe $5, let's say, for example, okay, you may be billing $7 or $9 to your customer. Okay, so that would add the margin also. But whenever we talk about our progress measurement and performance measurement, we only talk about the cost part. Okay, so we'll be have to measure it with respect to $5, not the $7 and $9.
So then earned value and actual cost should be the same.
No, earned value is my estimated value. What you had planned to spend. Okay, and actual cost, what is it that you have actually spent? Let's say, for example, I had planned that I would need 10 people for 10 days. Okay, in completing the work, which is 100. Okay, 100 hours and multiply by, let's say, for example, $1 just for simplification. So it was $100. Okay, that was my plan. But my actual could be something else. Maybe I did not need 10 people. I needed only 9. Or maybe I needed 12. Okay, so accordingly, my price will also go up. So although I had planned to spend $100 in that project, but I've spent $120 in doing that particular activity. Okay, that's why my plan and activity changed.
Understood. Sorry.
No, no
Thank
issues. Yeah, so these are the basis of measurement. Now, how do we visualize this on our chart? Okay, we put cost on the y-axis, time on the x-axis, and we plot. Okay, so when we plot, what would happen? We'll first plot our plan, right? That at first month I will spend this much amount. Then in the second month I will spend this much amount of money. In the third month I will spend this much, and this is my accumulation, okay, of the cost. And then again I'll spend some more money, some more, right? Then every month I'll keep on spending, and then I'll connect these dots, right? I'll come to know about my planned value expenditure at every point of time, right? See, you know which activity will happen when, or you have estimated, I'll not say which you know, but you have estimated which activity is supposed to happen when in the project, right? You also know what would be the estimate of completing that activity because you have already done the estimation for the project. You have created the schedule, you have created the budget. So when you plot it on the graph, this is what you will see. Okay. So in terms of cost versus time, you will see a graph of your planned value, which would look something like this. Okay. What is this curve called? Anyone? Considering the shape of this curve, which curve?
S curve.
S curve, right? Absolutely. Thank you so much. Right. So whenever you plot your time-based expense in the project, typically in the traditional approach project, what you get is an S-shaped curve, which is also called S curve. Right. So this is my planned value. Right. Now, whenever I am doing a measurement, I'm doing at a particular time. So let us say this is the time at which I am measuring it. So today is 7th July, 2024. Right? So on 7th July, I am measuring this. So whatever this value is my planned value till now. Right? Till now, this is the amount that I had planned to spend. Right? So planned value is known. So one of the value is known already. The second value is the earned value that we discussed. So what will we do? We will plot for the earned value as well. We will check what is the actual work that we have done and what is the estimate. So this is the curve that we will get. Okay. Now, sorry, this is the actual cost that we are talking about. This is my earned value. As you can see, there's nothing here in terms of earned value, right? Because we are measuring at this point of time, which is 7th July, which is today. So we are measuring what is the work that we have actually done. Right. So because we are measuring what is it that we have actually done, there cannot be anything towards the future because this is 7th July, this is 8th, 9th, 10th. We don't know. We have not done anything. Right? We have not even seen that day yet. So my earned value will be limited to somewhere here. It would follow any curve. Okay, it need not necessarily be like this. It could be like this as well. Right? Depending on how much work you are doing. Right. So earned value tells me what is my actual work and what was my planned value for that. I'll keep plotting this whenever it happens. Every time I measure, I will put it on the chart and it will follow some curve like this. That will be my earned value. And one more value is my actual cost, which is my actual expense, okay, which I will measure here. So till today, what is it that we have spent? What all invoices we have, whatever money that we have spent, we will keep a track of it. Every time you measure, whether it is 7th July, maybe 7th January, February, March, April, May, June, and then on 7th July, you will measure. Whatever you measure, you just plot it and you will see a curve like this. It could be anywhere. I mean, it's an actual cost. It could be more, it could be less than your plan. But these are your actual figures, actual expense, an estimate of actual work. And because these are your actual figures, you have nothing in the future. This is your planned value, hence hence your curve is going in the future as well. Now, when you compare these values, when you compare planned value to earned value and actual cost to earned value, you will come to know about your performance, right? So you are spending more than what you are earning. Here, if you look at planned value, your plan to spend was more than what you are earning. So if you look at this chart, can you tell me what is the cost related performance and what is the schedule related performance? Is it good or bad? How are you performing with respect to cost and how are you performing with respect to schedule? Let's see cost first. Yes, anyone. Is the performance better or bad? I mean, good or bad?
Bad.
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 Bad. Why? Because my actual cost is more
More
than
than the
my
plan.
earned
More than what you intended to spend.
value. Right. So I would want one more person to explain this. Yes, anyone, please. Why is why is this bad with respect to cost? Yes, Anil, please go ahead.
So
Yeah, so on the plotted time, the graph that you have
Mhm.
plotted, at
Yes.
a particular time, the actual, I mean, the planned value is what you have marked on the green
Mhm.
graph, and the actual cost is higher in terms of y-axis. If you see, it is
Mhm.
higher on the scale, so
Yes.
it is the actual cost is spent higher than what was actually planned.
So
So there is
because
a variance.
so you're saying because my actual cost is more than what I had planned for, that's why I'm doing bad in terms of cost. Am I
Yeah,
understanding?
assuming that the project is on schedule. I mean, not ahead of schedule.
Okay, so based on certain assumption.
Yeah.
Okay. If I don't have to make that assumption, because we cannot assume it, right? We should know. We should know whether we are doing good in terms of cost schedule or not. So if I don't have
Uh,
to make that assumption, what will I do? Currently, I am measuring it
yeah. So
with respect to planned work. Correct.
yes,
That's why I need to make that assumption. But if I don't have to make that assumption, what should I compare it with? I should compare it with completed work. Correct.
yes.
Yes. So what will I compare it with? I'll compare it with my earned value. Okay. So thanks a lot, Sanil, for bringing that point up. It is very, very important point to understand. Okay. If you compare your actual cost with your planned value, which means you are comparing your actual work with your planned work, which means you will have to assume that you are on schedule, right? But you cannot make that assumption. You have to measure it, and it will obviously, in almost every project, we are either above schedule or behind schedule or ahead of schedule. Right? Very rarely we are on schedule. Right? So we cannot make that assumption. So what should we do? We should compare it with my completed work. So whenever you want to understand your performance with respect to cost, you will always compare your actual cost with your earned value. And because your actual cost is more than your earned value, that's why we will say that you are doing, or in this project, the project is performing bad in terms of cost, which means we are over budget. Right? So always compare with your earned value, not with your planned value for the cost. Okay. Now, those who have not participated yet, how are we doing with respect to schedule? Good or bad or ugly? Yes, please.
Planned value is more than the earned value.
Okay. Planned
Uh,
value is more than the earned value. Yes, that we can
yeah.
see. So what does it tell us?
So I think uh, planned value is more than the earned value. So I think it is behind the schedule.
Okay, it is behind schedule. Why?
Uh,
Anyone else, please participate. Someone who has not spoken till now.
This graph is cost, right? With time. The
Yeah, cost with time.
schedule.
Correct.
So schedule is how do we know what is the schedule?
Okay,
Um,
we can. Think about it.
with
Planned
with
planned
time,
value is estimate of planned work.
planned work. Then it is
Actual
yeah. So the
actual of I'll just complete it. Okay. Planned value is estimate of planned work. Actual is my actual expense, and earned value is the estimate of my actual work. So I have planned work and I have actual work both in this chart. So I can compare and I can come to know about my schedule because I would know whether I'm doing more work or I'm doing less work. How would we come to know? By comparing planned value and earned value. Right? My planned value is my estimate of my planned work, and my earned value is the estimate of actual work. So if I compare my planned value and earned value, then I'll compare my planned work and actual work. So I can compare. So we are comparing, and it is showing us that planned value is more than the earned value. And Subramanya said that it is behind schedule. But my question is why? But first of all, is this clear that
yeah, yeah. It
you
is
can
clear.
get
It
to
is
know
clear.
about schedule?
Yes,
Is
clear.
that part clear? Okay, perfect. So now, why is it behind schedule? When the value is higher, then why are we calling it behind schedule? Yes, anyone? Anyone who has
Yeah,
spoken also, please participate. You can also put in your
yeah,
point.
because in order for earned value to match the planned value, it's
Mhm.
going to take more time,
Okay.
according. That's why it's behind the schedule.
Okay. So we are saying that in order for earned value to match the planned value, it is going to take more time. Okay. And somewhere here it might meet. That's why the we are behind schedule, which means we'll have to do more work in order to meet our planned value. In a way to say that my planned value is more than what I am earning. Okay. And ultimately, when you start comparing, you will start to come to know. See, what is my planned value? Is my estimate of planned work. Right? Estimated value of planned work. What is my earned value? Estimated value of actual work. So if I say that earned value is less than the planned value, what is it that I'm saying? I'm saying that my actual work is less than my planned work. Okay, so I had planned to do a certain number of activities, but I have not done that much. I have done less. And that is why my earned value is less. That is why I am behind schedule. Okay. So as I said, when you calculate earned value, it makes our life very easy. We don't have to assume anything. All we have to do is we already have this because we have the budget. Okay. Actual cost is nothing but the expenses that we are getting. So any invoice that you get, any work that you do, you just go and put in the system that yes, this is the amount of money that we have to spend, or we have already spent, or if we are liable to pay. Right? That becomes your cost. And what is your earned value? You are capturing your actual work. So you capture your actual cost, you capture your actual work, convert those into these values, and your job is done. After that, for the entire project, all you need to do is plot these three values, and you'll come to know the cost difference, and you'll come to know the schedule difference. So when you compare actual cost to earned value, you come to know about your cost. Why? Because actual cost is actual expense, and earned value is my estimated expense. Actual expense of the work done. Estimated expense of work done. So I don't have to assume anything. My basis is same. Right? The work that I have already completed. For that, what is my estimate and what is my actual? This will give me my cost performance. Right? And same thing if I talk about schedule, my planned value is estimate of planned work. My earned value is estimate of actual work. So instead of comparing the cost, what is it that I'm comparing? I'm comparing my work. Okay. And in terms of understanding the work, I mean, see, if you calculate, okay, if we are doing 40% compared to that, we are doing 50% of the work. If you compare only on the work part, you will not be able to come to know the efficiency at which you are working, and you cannot compare it with the cost. But when you convert it into the value, first you will come to know how good or how bad, and we will see it in the next slide. How do we do that? And second, you will also be able to compare it with your cost performance. So am I doing better in terms of schedule or better in terms of cost? You will come to know that. That's why we are converting everything into value. So now when you can compare the planned value and earned value, you are comparing the estimate of the planned work versus estimate of actual work. Right? Naturally, I'm comparing the work, so I'll come to know about my schedule performance as well. If my planned work is more, the value of my planned work is more compared to the value of my actual work, definitely I'm doing less work. Right? And that's why I'm behind schedule. So and now I will give you a very easy way to look at the chart. If my earned value is lower than any of these, I will come to know about my performance that I'm doing a bad job. If it is lower than actual cost, then I'm doing bad in terms of cost. If it is lower than planned value, then I'll come to know about my schedule. So comparing actual cost and earned value give me about cost, and my earned value should always be more than or equal to, if I have to say that I'm doing a good work. Planned value versus earned value tells me about my schedule, and my earned value should always be above. So in an ideal situation, when you do the project, your earned value should follow certain this curve. Okay, I'm just putting this curve so that I don't have to cross actual cost. It will not be this shape, but it should always be above actual cost or planned value. Then only I can say that I'm doing better job, I am below the budget, and I am ahead of my schedule. Otherwise, my earned value is below, then I'm not doing a good job in terms of cost or in terms of schedule. If my earned value is here, okay, then earned value is below the actual cost, which means my cost performance is bad. But my earned value is above schedule, which means my schedule performance is good. So just by looking at your chart, you can draw your line. You can say as of today, depending on the position of my actual cost and planned value with respect to my earned value, I will come to know about my cost and schedule performance. Now, how good, how bad is a different part. But now, for now, till now, we know that it is whether it is good or bad. Okay, is it clear, everyone? Any question?
Yeah, one observation.
Yeah, please.
So the whole thing is dependent on our estimation. That's what the green line is telling us, right? Planned value is all my estimation. So
Yes. The basis is earned value.
right,
We are comparing both actual cost and planned value with my earned value. So the whole thing, the way you say it, it is based on actual work rather than anything else. The work that we have
right, but
completed.
right, but the positive negative is happening based on comparison with planned value, for example.
Yes. Planned and actual
So
cost, not just the plan.
planned and actual cost. Okay, okay. Meaning I'm going back to our original estimation where we are doing parametric, analogous, whatever. There, I mean, whatever we do, if that makes a huge impact on this one. So
Yes.
with that awareness, you can add a cushion there or whatever, then the graph will look better, for example.
Yes, but the cushion or the buffer or the padding that we talk about, okay, it should be based on some analysis. It should not be random. Okay. Otherwise, what would happen is your curve would show some cushion. Okay. For example, it might show it is very close to earned value. Okay. That would be your estimate, but your earned value will be very high. And if that is the huge difference between your plan and your actual, or in terms of schedule or in terms of cost, then also people would start to ask question, why is that happening? Okay. And hence it is suggested that we should not add cushion. What we should do is more analysis. We should try to make our estimate more and more accurate through data, through discussion, through understanding. We should put in efforts to understand and make our estimate more accurate rather than adding the cushion or the buffer. Okay. I'm strictly talking in PMI language. We should not do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot for that point. Thanks so much. Yes, Randir, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so if based on the chart,
Hmm.
it can be said that the work completed is the red line, red
Hmm.
red line. So work
Yes.
completed is very less, and the expenses to complete this much work is the actual cost, the blue
Yes.
line.
Yes.
So we actually spend more than the planned value
Correct.
and
Correct.
achieved way less than the planned
Mm-hmm.
deliverables.
Right. So
That's
yeah.
a
So
huge gap.
that is the insight that we have to generate as a project manager. This is what we are supposed to do, and that is what will be tested in exam as well. Okay. So it's a great insight that we are actually doing the work very less, but spending a lot of money. So something very huge happened in the project. If you know about it, then it is fine. Otherwise, you will talk to your team and try to understand what went so huge wrong that we are spending so much amount of money and doing such a little work. So in doing such little work, why did we spend so much amount of money? Maybe there was a material damage, maybe there was some accident that happened, and because of which we had to do a rework. Anything could have happened, but this is the analysis that you will do.
And this is true regardless of the methodology. I mean, the traditional or the
So we
agile.
are talking about traditional approach.
Traditional, right? Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
Okay. In agile, because it is a rate contract, so you will
Exactly. That we fix the cost
you
there,
will
right?
verify based on the iteration that you're doing. So that's
Yeah.
completely fine. The more you work, the
Right.
more you will have the cost. So it is variable with respect to the time. So we don't do that. We can do it. We can check our story points. We can check the user stories completion. What is it that we had planned and what is it that we have done? But not a lot of people do that. And in agile, probably it will not be asked.
Yeah. Got it. Thanks.
So this part is clear, everyone. Anyone, any other doubt? Okay. If not, let's move ahead. Okay. So whatever we have discussed is to understand whether the performance is good or bad, right? But how good or how much good or how much bad is the situation? That is also important. It is not only important to know whether it is good or bad or very good or very bad. Right? We also need to have some values. Right? That's why we do projects. We kind of calculate the numbers. Right? So when you calculate the numbers, you calculate two things. One is schedule variance, other is cost variance. Okay. And the difference between schedule and cost variance would come to know through the same point that we have discussed. So my schedule variance would be difference between my earned value and my planned value. That's what we saw in the chart. If you see the difference between earned value, which was below, and the planned value, which was in the middle, which means it tells me about the schedule. And if my earned value is less, then I'm doing bad in terms of schedule. So if my earned value is less, what will happen? My schedule will be negative. Schedule variance will be negative. It will be less than zero. Right? Earned value is less than planned value. What does it mean? Earned value is 3, planned value is 4. Earned value, if earned value is 4, planned value is 6. Something like that. So 3 minus 4 is minus 1. 4 minus 6 is minus 2. It is always less than 0. If my earned value is less than my planned value, naturally, by simple subtraction, my schedule variance is less than 0. So what does it tell us? It tells us that if my schedule variance is less than 0, which means my earned value is less than planned value, which also means my performance with respect to schedule is bad, which means I am behind schedule. So ultimately, if my schedule variance is less than 0, it means that I am behind schedule. What if my earned value is more than planned value? What if my earned value is 4 while my planned value is 3? 4 minus 3 is equal to plus 1, right? Positive 1, which means it is greater than 0. So if my schedule variance is greater than 0, it means that my earned value is more than planned value, which means I'm earning more than what I had planned, which means I am ahead of schedule. I'm doing more work than what I had planned for. And if it is exactly equal to 0, which means I am at schedule. Right? And you will come to know the exact numbers as well. 3 minus 4 is minus $1 million. So I am behind schedule by a value of minus $1 million. I am behind schedule by a value of minus $2 million. So I'm actually losing $2 million in this project. Here, because I am ahead of schedule, I am gaining $1 million in the project. Now, whether it will be an actual gain or not is a different part. But for my calculation, I have come to know about these values. Right? So my schedule variance should be either equal to 0 or greater than 0. Same is with my cost variance as well. Cost variance is earned value minus actual cost. We have seen that. Okay, in our chart, earned value was at last, planned value was middle, and actual cost was above. So if my earned value is less than the actual cost, which means EV minus AC would be less than 0, which means I'm earning less and I'm spending more, which means my cost variance is bad. I'm over budget. If my cost variance is greater than 0, it means my earned value is more than the actual cost, which means I'm doing good in terms of cost, which means I'm under budget. And if it is equal to 0, I'm spending exactly what I had planned for. So my cost variance should either be equal to 0 or greater than 0. Right? Now what would happen? As a project manager, you will have a lot of software that you can use. Your team would be able to calculate it, and they will present you these numbers. So either you will see the chart and you will come to know. Okay, see, based on your experience, based on your intuition, we saw the personality indicators yesterday, right? So if you are an intuitive person, you will look at this trend and you'll automatically know, right? As Sanal looked at it, and just by looking at it, you could understand that I am spending a lot of money while I'm doing a lot of very less work. And these kind of understanding you can have, and you can have a discussion. Or if you want to go into the details of it, you will calculate the values, you will see the actual numbers, and then you will take a decision. Both mean the same thing, right? So as a project manager, you would be looking at these charts or these values. And based on that, you will take some decisions. Okay, so this is called variance, that's why we are looking at the difference of values. Okay, let us have a look at in the chart. Okay, we have already seen it. Earned value comparing to planned value, I will get my schedule variance. Because my earned value is less, the schedule variance will be less than 0. That's why we said poor performance or behind schedule. My actual cost is above, my earned value is below. Earned value minus actual cost will give me my cost variance. This will also be less than 0, which means I am also ahead, more than the budget, which is above budget. So as of now, as of today, what's happening is I'm behind schedule and I have above budget. So I have a lot of things to do in the remaining period of the project. I'm not doing a good job. That's what this chart shows. And that's what you have to understand as a project manager. Just by looking at the chart, you should be able to understand it and you should be able to take some decisions. If you want to take some detailed decisions, you will go to the numbers and you will try to understand the actual number. Or what you can also do is to understand the efficiency of the work that you are doing. So instead of just calculating the variance, you would also want to know the ratio or the efficiency, which is called as index. Now, understanding the ratio or the efficiency would help you in the forecasting as well. See, just by looking at the number, probably you will not come to know what will happen in future. But when you look at the efficiency, you will have an understanding. If I tell you that you have been doing your work at an efficiency of 90%, okay, then for the remaining period of time, you will say, and you will be able to forecast that, yes, we had planned to do it in 5 months, but probably it will not be done in 5 months. It will take somewhere around 5.5 months, because if I am working at 90% efficiency, suddenly why will my efficiency go to 100%? If I have a reason for that, then yes, it could be 120% also, and it happens. Right? But I will have to do some work around it. I'll have to put some training. I'll have to do some rearrangement here and there, and only then my efficiency will improve. Or probably some mistake happened here, which was a huge mistake. Some damage happened, some big mistake happened, some breakdown happened, and because of which I'm behind schedule. But I don't anticipate that to happen in the future. So my efficiency will be better. So by understanding the efficiency, which is calculated by cost performance index or schedule performance index, you will be able to forecast as well. Right? That's why one is we look at chart, second is we look at schedule and cost variance, and third is to try to understand the efficiency with respect to schedule and cost. And the efficiency numbers that you will see, you can actually compare between schedule and cost both. That's why we converted everything into dollar value. So that there is one basis. If you have one common unit, you can always compare. Right? So otherwise, how will you compare time with the cost? You will have to convert into same unit. Either you convert the cost into hours or hours into cost. Converting hours into cost is much, much easier. That's why we did that. Okay. So what is a schedule performance index? Index means ratio. And we are calculating schedule performance index. Right. So those who don't know the formula, can you guess what the formula could be? If you are guessing only, then tell me. If you know
Earned
it,
value by earned value by planned value.
earned value by planned value. Why? Because index means ratio. That's why we are dividing. And how would I come to know my schedule performance? By comparing earned value with planned value. Right? So that is my schedule performance index. What would be the cost performance index? Anyone? Very quickly, please. Yes. Anyone?
Earned value by actual value. Actual
Earned
cost.
value by actual cost. Right?
Actual cost.
How do we come to know about the cost performance? By comparing earned value and actual cost. And because it's an index, that's why we are dividing. Right? Now, similar to schedule variance. Okay. In variance, we had the basis as number 0. We said if it is equal to 0, then it is as per the schedule. Greater than 0, ahead of schedule. Less than 0, behind schedule. Okay. What would happen in schedule performance index? How would we come to know? What is SPI? SPI is EV by PV. If
If
my
it is less
EV,
than 1,
yeah, absolutely. So if my EV is greater than PV, the value would be greater than 1. Right? Let's say EV is 5 and PV is $4 million. Right? So 5 divided by 4 is 1.25. It will always be greater. Whenever it is greater than 4, the division will always be greater than 1. So whenever my earned value is greater than my PV, my SPI will always be greater than 1. If it is equal to 1, which means I'm doing a good work exactly as per the schedule. But if it is less than 1, it means that the PV is more than EV, which means my planned value is more than what I'm earning, which means I'm not doing a good job in terms of schedule. I'm doing less work than what I had planned for. So my SPI should be greater than or equal to 1. Similarly, my CPI should also be greater than or equal to 1. Right? So your schedule variance should be greater than or equal to 0. Cost variance should be greater than or equal to 0. Schedule performance index should be greater than or equal to 1. Cost performance index should be greater than or equal to 1. Right? What kind of values you will see? See, if you divide, if you talk about schedule variance, you'll be subtracting 5 minus 4, which means $1 million. Right? So huge numbers you will see. If you calculate cost variance, let's say 4.5 minus 3, which means $1.5 million, which means such a huge numbers you will see. Either it will be positive or negative, but it will always be huge numbers. But when you talk about schedule performance index, it's a division. Whatever be the number, right? It could, at max, if you are doing absolutely worst job, it will still be 0.5 or 0.4. It will not be less than that. And if you're doing a fantastic job, you're doing double than what you had planned, the number would not go more than 2. Right? So numbers would look like 1.1, 0.8, 0.9, 1.2, something like that. Right? So if it is less than 1, bad job. If it is more than 1, good job. If it is less than 0, bad job. If it is more than 0, good job. Right? Whether it is cost or schedule. So just by looking at your number, you will be able to understand your schedule performance, your cost performance. Right? Let's have a look at this in the chart as well. Similar to my schedule variance, SPI is division of earned value to planned value. Actual cost, CPI is earned value to actual cost. Right? Here, because my earned value is below the numbers, that's why it is less than 1. If I was doing a good job, then what would happen? My earned value would be more than the planned value or actual cost. So in this case, I'm earning more than what I had planned and more than what I'm spending. So I'm earning more, which means my earned value is more than planned value, earned value is more than cost, which means I'm doing a good job in terms of schedule and cost both. So my SPI will also be greater than 1 and my CPI will also be greater than 1. Right? If it has to be equal to 1, then there will be an intersection between the curves. Is this part clear, everyone? Schedule variance, cost variance, SPI, CPI. Clear? Any doubts? Are you able to visualize how we do it in project if you have not done it already? Right? So, till now, what have we seen? We have seen this part of the work, which means we have seen the past. And this line is my present, 7th July. So today I'm calculating for whatever I have done till now. Right? So now, till now, we have monitored the performance. Now what you will do? You will have these numbers. Okay. And as you have been doing, you will try to understand and you will try to analyze. So what have we done till now? We have gathered the data. So data gathering is done. Right? Or data collecting is done, or data identification is done, but we have data. What do we do with data? We analyze. Right? So now we will analyze as project manager. That is our main role. Why? Why is CPI more than 1? Why is SPI more than 1? If it is less than 1, why is it so? Right? See, whether you are doing good or bad, you have to always check why is it happening. It should not be a fluke. It should not be something random. Right? You should always know why it is happening like that. Okay, so for now, we have only calculated, which can be done by any software freely available in the market. Okay, but then why should we be paid salary? Because we are project managers, we can analyze this. And based on this analysis, we can forecast. And that's why we demand more salary than anyone else. The better we can forecast, the better we can prepare our management, the better they will be prepared, the better the organization will perform. That's why we can demand high salary from the organization. Right? So we have calculated this number. Now we will do the analysis and then we'll do the forecasting. So now we will talk about the future part of it. What can we anticipate in the future based on what we have done in the past? Right? We all know this, that the past is the best indicator of future. I mean, it will not be accurate, but it is the best indicator. Right? Only by looking at what has happened in the past, you be able to estimate what might happen in the future. Now, whatever you do, it may or may not be true. You may or may not be very accurate, but the more accurate you are, the better it is for the project. So now we will forecast for the future in the project. Okay. Now, whenever you are forecasting, you will try to calculate a term called estimate at completion, which is nothing but, in simple words, your revised budget. Notice on the word at. Estimate at completion, towards the end. So when you are at completion, what is your estimate? And it is estimate. So you will not be calculating at the end. You are calculating now what would be your revised budget. See, you started with a budget in mind. Let's say, for example, it was $10 million. That was your initial budget, right? And you have already spent $6 million from our example, right? 7th July, we said we would have already spent 6 million. We had planned to do 4, but we have already spent $6 million. Now you have only $4 million left. And how many floors you have done? We have done 5 floors. So there are 5 more floors pending, maybe five more months available with us, and $4 million available with us. Will we be able to do finish our project within that, or will we need more money? If we need more money, which is natural here, right, in doing half of the work, we have spent 60% of the work. So naturally, for the remaining second half, we need more money. And it cannot be done in the 40% of the budget. At least we need 50% of the budget. So at least we need $1 million more. So whether we need $1 million more, whether we need $0.5 million more, or we need $2 million more, how would I come to know? Okay, that is what the idea of estimate at completion is. So when you say that I need $1 million more, which means 6 you have already spent, right? 4 you already have in the budget, and you are saying I will need 1 more, which means you are asking for $11 million on 7th July, while on 1st January you said I can do it in $10 million itself. So this $11 million is your estimate at completion, which is nothing but your revised budget. Right? So you are asking your management for $1 million extra. Why will they give you? Okay, because they are committed to complete the project. But if they have to give you $1 million extra, they will ask you some questions, and you have to prepare for that answer. Now, in order to prepare for that answer, you should know how you have arrived at this 1 million, 0.5 or $2 million. It will all depend on the analysis that you have done. So when you saw the value of SPI, CPI, SV, and CV, you did some analysis, right, of why the number is more than 1, why the number is less than 1, why the number is more than 0 or less than 0. You did some analysis, right? Now, if your analysis says that your estimate was wrong, okay, so you analyze and you realize that my estimate was not accurate. Mr. Ram put that point, right? That I may need to put some cushion, I may need to be a little bit more sincere about it, may need to be more accurate about the estimation, right? Because he anticipated that probably my estimate is a very big thing that I do in the project, because the entire forecasting and analysis is dependent on that, right? So when you analyzed for your project and you saw your CPI and SPI value, and you realized that, okay, my estimate was wrong, then what will you do? You will revise your estimate for the remaining point of time. See, you don't have to revise the estimate for what has already happened. What has happened is done. Right? So why will I estimate for the 5 floors that I've already completed? I will revise my estimate for the remaining 5 floors. Okay, and that will be my estimate at completion. Actual cost is something that I've already spent. In our case, it was $6 million. And then I will revise my estimate for the remaining part of the work. So remaining 5 floors, I will sit with my team and try to revise the estimate based on the learnings that we have made some mistakes. So what was that mistake? We'll not make the same mistake here. Okay, in terms of short forms of it, estimate at completion is equal to actual cost plus estimate to complete. So estimate to complete is your estimate for the remaining work. Estimate at completion is your revised budget for the entire project. This is your revised estimate for remaining work. To complete the work, how much money do you need? And estimate at completion is at the end of the project, what would be your revised budget? Right? So if you realize during your analysis that your estimation was wrong, you will revise your estimate and you'll calculate your estimate at completion, which is your revised budget. But if your analysis says that my estimation was okay, something else was wrong, or there was nothing wrong in the project, this is the efficiency with which we work. Okay. Which means Your estimation was proper. The execution was also proper, more or less. But the price of the raw materials fluctuated a lot, more than what you anticipated, right? Uh, the kind of issues that you faced, environmental issues, some rain happened, summer was very, very hot, people could not work at the efficiency, and this is the condition that is present. Okay, and because of that condition, this is the efficiency at which you can work in this industry, in your company for this particular work. If you realize that this is the efficiency at which we can work, even if I spend a lot of time revising my estimate every week, every month, I would still not be accurate because my raw materials will fluctuate a lot because Russia-Ukraine war has happened. So we don't know whether the price will go up, whether the price will go down, but we know for sure that it will fluctuate. If you have that understanding and that's your analysis, that's what your analysis says, then you know that you will work with that same efficiency. Right? CPI is my efficiency of at which I am spending money. Whether it is more or less, it is going to remain the same for the next 6 months or so as well. That's your estimate, that's your understanding. So what will you do? You will pick up your initial budget, which is also called budget at completion. You'll pick up your initial budget, which was $10 million, and you will divide it with your CPI, okay, which is somewhere around 0.6 or something. So 10 divided by 0.6, you will get a number which will tell you how much money you will need. Maybe it will be somewhere around $16 million. So now you know that because of all these conditions that we have, we cannot work at better efficiency than 60%. It will be very bad. It will not be the case. It will be somewhere around 80-90%. Okay. But this is the efficiency at which we can work. We cannot do anything. Even if I revise my estimate, I'll still be able to only work at the efficiency of 60%. So if that's the case, then I cannot finish in $10 million for sure. I need $16 million in total. Right? So that would be my estimated completion. So this estimate at completion value will depend on what my analysis result says. If my analysis result says that I need to revise my estimate, then I will revise the estimate. It could be anywhere between $5 to $6 million. Let's say $5 million. Already I have spent $6 million. So my revised budget for the entire project would be $11 million. But if my efficiency is very, very bad, which is 60%, and my initial budget was 10, I divide by 0.6, I would need $16 million. Just have a look at these numbers. Depending on your analysis, you may need $11 million or you may need $16 million. It will be either of them. It cannot be both. It will be either of them. But that would depend on the analysis that you have done. And hence, this analysis is very, very important. We should not say that, okay, this is what I have spent. I'm spending at 60, 80, 90%. So I will take 10% more. Okay. It cannot always be that we are dividing by CPI only. Sometimes we may need to revise our estimate and we may need less money than what my CPI might tell me. Okay. I'll show one more value and then I'll take the question. Okay. There could also be a case where you may realize that it was just one of a case. COVID happened, damage happened, right? Some safety issue happened, some theft happened, and because of which my price went up. If that's the case, then what you will do is you will look at your initial budget. You will subtract your earned value. You will say, okay, what have we done till now is done. So my actual cost is there, $6 million. What is it that I have earned till now? Okay, let's say, for example, it was $5 million. And what is my budget? $10 million. So I will say this was a one of a case, one damage happened because of which I'm spending $1 million extra. So what I would eventually need is 6 plus 10 minus 5 is 5, $11 million. Right. So my earned value till now, if that's the difference that I am receiving in my project, which means whatever I have earned till now is done. Okay. The same mistake will not happen in future. That is my estimate. I made a big mistake. There was an accident. The COVID happened. Some natural phenomenon happened. But that is not expected to happen in future also. So what is my done is my done. Whatever I have earned is earned. Whatever I have spent is spent. So I will use those formula and I will decide my revised budget. So I don't need to revise my estimate. I don't need to say that I will be working at the same efficiency because the same thing is not going to happen again. So I will use my past value to calculate for my future. What is my past value? Actually, what I have spent, what I have earned, and my initial full budget, and I'll come to know about my future. I'll just give you how we calculated that. This is my start of the project. This is my finish of the project. I am saying that I have already earned something and I have already spent something. I also know my full value, which is my budget at calculation, right? So for this length of my timeline, I know this part and I know the full. So in order to calculate the remaining part, I will subtract my full with this. That's what we do. Very simple in our algebra. What is algebra or geometry classes, right? We in maths we did that. If my full value is known and my half value is known, I subtract my full from half. I'll come to know about the remaining part. That's what we are doing here. We are subtracting the full, which is BAC, with EV, and actually something that we have already spent. So BAC minus EV will give me this point, and if I add AC, I'll get my revised budget as well. Right? So estimate at completion, which means your revised budget can be calculated in these three formula depending on what your analysis is. If your analysis says you will have to revise the estimate, then whatever you have spent, add the revised estimate to complete the remaining part of the project. That will be your revised budget. If you think that is the efficiency, that's the nature of the work that we do, it cannot change, then divide your initial budget by CPI and you will come to know your revised budget. But if you think that, okay, it was just one of a mistake and we have learned from it, we are not expected to repeat the same mistake again, then you subtract your earned value from the initial budget, add whatever you have already spent to it, you will get your revised budget for the entire project. Okay, that's how you estimate these three. I mean, the revised budget. That's how you estimate your revised budget for the project. Yes, Sanal, please go ahead.
Amit, the CPI, the efficiency, can you explain just once again?
This part? Okay.
Yeah.
See, we were calculating our project. I mean, we have calculated or we have measured the earned value, we have measured the actual cost, and we understood that earned value divided by actual cost is 0.8, let's say, for example. Okay. In a way, it tells me that I am spending the money at 80% efficiency. Because if it was 1, then I am spending as per my plan. If it was 1.1, then I'm spending less than the plan. Okay, which is 10% better. So it is in a way understanding that, okay, I'm doing at an 80% efficiency rate. Okay. Now, if my CPI is 0.8, naturally I'll talk to my team. Why are we spending more? Right. I want to understand why my team is spending more. So I will sit with my team. I'll try to understand why we are spending more. We'll check our estimate. We'll say, okay, estimate is fine. We'll check out for execution and we'll say, okay, execution and all is fine. But we will come to know that the raw material price fluctuated a lot. Right. And then you will say, okay, raw material price fluctuated a lot because of which we spent more money than what we had planned. Is this fluctuation going to remain as it is, or is it not going to fluctuate? If it is not going to fluctuate, you will use this formula because it was a one-off case. Now it will not happen. But if you believe that, okay, this fluctuation can still happen, that's the nature of the work that we do, then what you will do is you will divide your initial budget by CPI, saying that if I worked at an 80% efficiency rate because of the nature of work that I do, and this nature of work is not going to change, then I'm in the remaining part also, I'll be working at the same efficiency. And that's why you increase your budget by that efficiency rate. That's why you divide it by CPI. Is that clear?
Yes, it is clear. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Any other question, anyone? Is this part clear till now? We have 3 or 4 more formula. Okay. Now, don't worry about remembering this formula. Don't worry about memorizing this formula because the formulas will not be checked. Whatever we are learning, whatever we are understanding, whatever we are getting an insight from it, those things will be tested in the PMP exam. But if you are going to apply this in your project, by all means, you should know this. Anyways, it will be calculated by software, but you should know how it is calculated so that you can take better decisions. Okay, so here we are forecasting our revised budget, and depending on our analysis result, my revised budget would change, obviously. Right? Now, next part. My estimate to complete. Okay, this was estimate at completion. This is estimate to complete. My estimate to complete is my revised budget for the remaining work. Okay, what is my planned expense for the work that is remaining? It is nothing but my total revised budget minus actual cost. See, all we are doing is putting the right-hand side into left-hand side, nothing else. Okay, so if I look at my timeline, if this is my start of the project, this is my finish of the project, and let's assume that this is my revised budget, estimate at completion. This is my actual cost, I already know. And this is my estimate to complete for the remaining period of the work. So if I have to calculate my estimate to complete, I'll subtract my EAC minus AC, EAC to AC. So I'll subtract actual cost from estimate at completion, and I'll come to know my ETC. Okay, that is my estimate to complete. Or you can do a revised estimation and you'll come to know. Right? So that's how also you can calculate it. Or if you know EAC, then you subtract and you calculate. If at all you have to calculate this. Second is variance at completion. Okay. Now variance at completion, what is a variance? Variance means plan minus actual. It's a variation, it's a difference. Right? So variance at completion would be plan minus actual. So if I'm looking at my end, what is my plan? Budget at completion, BAC. What is my revised estimate? EAC. So at any given point of time, if I want to know what is the variance, I will subtract BAC minus EAC. Initial budget minus revised budget. I'll come to know about my variance. Why is this important? Because my management would want to know how much more is required in the project. So initial budget was $10 million. Now I am asking for $11 million, which means my variance is minus $1 million, which means I need $1 million more from my management. Okay, that's variance at completion. Another term is called to complete performance index. Okay, if you look at it in a way to say 2 is T and complete performance index CPI, it just gives us a better meaning. Okay, so it says what is the CPI, what is the cost performance index I need to complete the project within budget. See, the minute you tell your management that I need $1 million extra, they will not give it you just like that. Okay, you are such a nice project manager, take this money, enjoy. And they're not going to do that. They'll ask questions. And they'll also ask, okay, can you finish it within budget? What do you need to do? What should be your efficiency? And based on that, probably they'll take decision. So if they ask you, what is the efficiency at which you need to spend the money for the remaining period of time, you will calculate something called to complete performance index, what is TCPI. And is nothing but some subtraction, some formula. Okay, as such, it looks difficult formula. But again, if you go to the timeline, it will become easy. This is my start, this is my finish. What is my total budget? Initial budget, BAC. That's my target. That's a target the management has given me, right? They said, what is the efficiency you need to finish within BAC? What do I know till now? I know my EV, I know my AC. I'm talking about cost, so I don't need PV. So I know my AV, I know my AC. And I also know that EV by AC is CPI. So if I have to understand my cost performance of the work that I have done till now, I will divide AV by AC and I'll get my CPI. But I want CPI for this reason, the remaining work, to finish within this budget. Same geometry, right? Take the full, subtract what you know, you will get for remaining. So what are you doing? You are saying BAC minus EV, BAC minus AC. That's what this formula is. That is your TCPI. TCPI is the cost performance index you need to complete within the initial budget. Just for understanding, it does not help in any other way. Okay, just for understanding so that they can take a decision. If it is, let's say, for example, if TCPI is somewhere around 1.1 or so, then the management will not give you money. They'll say, okay, improve your performance. But if it is 1.2 or 1.3, okay, they will say, okay, probably you need extra money. I'll provide that. They will arrange and they'll provide it. Is it clear? These three formula as well. We'll try to visualize on the chart as well so that we understand it better. Okay, so this is our chart. This is our 7th July. We have calculated our actual cost. We have calculated planned value and we have calculated earned value. Okay, this job is done. And then after that, we discussed about forecasting. Okay, so when you forecast, what happens? This is your budget at completion, which you already know in the beginning of your project itself. The moment you created your budget and you plotted this chart, at the end of this, whatever the value is your budget at completion. So at this point of time, at the end of the project, this is the value that you need, which was $10 million in our example case. Right? So that is your initial budget. What is your revised budget? Based on your actual cost, right? You may spend more, you may spend less. Whatever you see at the end, this is your estimate at completion. Right? This is the total value you need at completion of the project. This is what you had planned for. But because your actual cost is more, this is what you actually need. So this is your revised budget. Initial budget, revised budget. The difference between that would be my variance at completion. Right? So difference between my initial budget and revised budget is my variance. Naturally, just by looking at this chart and this forecasting, we can say that we need more money than what we had planned. Hence, my variance would be negative. Variance is BAC minus EAC. And the point from which we started forecasting till the point that we need this difference, which means this difference. If this is $11 million and this is maybe $5 million that we have already spent, so we need $6 million more to complete the project. And hence it is called estimate to complete. Okay, so by looking at the chart itself, you will come to know about the numbers. Where is TCPI come into picture? See, this is your expected expense of the cost, right? So this is the efficiency at which you are expected to work. You planned and you believe that this is the efficiency at which we will work. But your management is saying, no, you don't spend like this, spend like this. What would be your CPI? Right? To complete the project as per your budget. So what should be your efficiency? It should be flat, which means for the remaining period of time, you're spending very, very less money. Is it possible? If yes, then you will try to do that. If not, then you will not. Now have a look at this. Now, because your variation is so huge, it is almost a flat line that you need to complete the budget, which means for the remaining period of work, without spending money, you have to complete the project. Obviously, it is not possible. Right? Now imagine a different scenario where your actual cost was somewhere here. Okay. Just above. In that case, what would happen? The forecasting would be something like this. Which is very much possible because that's how my curve is going. Okay. And I may be able to finish it on time. That is why TCPI is important for the management to understand. If it's a absolutely close to flat line, then they will have to provide money. If it is not flat line and you can manage it, then they'll ask you to manage it. They'll say, okay, we cannot provide it. Try to be a little bit more efficient. Try to rearrange the task. Try to see how you can still finish within the budget. And you will also try to do that. Why would you want to go to the management to tell you that you have to finish in the budget? You already know that. Yes, I have to finish in the budget. That's why the value of TCPI comes into picture. Right? So we have discussed a lot of formula. We have discussed a lot of understanding. We have done a lot of visualization on the chart as well. Okay. In order to understand the entire earned value analysis, this was important. Okay. Now, for PMP, you will not get questions on calculating any of these numbers. If at all, maybe one. Okay, and that would also be maybe CPI, SPI, or EV or CV. They would not come to this level of calculating other things. Even if they talk about TCPI, now that you know CPI is EV by AC. If they are asking TCPI, then it is BAC minus AV, BAC minus AC. Right? So if you arrive at it logically, you will be able to calculate, which is not expected. Calculations, mathematical questions are not expected in PMP because that's not what project managers do. Project managers analyze. Project managers forecast. Project managers try to convince people to provide money. Right? And that is what will be tested. Okay. So what kind of questions you can see if not calculation? This is what. Okay. Have a look at this. Put the answer in the chat box and then we'll discuss. All right, so let's discuss this. A manufacturing project has a schedule performance index SPI of 0.89 and a cost performance index of 0.91. Generally, what is the most likely explanation of why this occurred? You see that? As a project manager, this is what is being tested from you. They have given you two values and they're saying, okay, why do you think that happened? And they've given you some options. Right? So SPI of 0.89 what does that mean? It means that we are doing bad in terms of schedule. CPI of 0.91 means we are doing bad in terms of cost. We are spending more and we are doing less work. Okay, so we need to buckle up. But the question is, what is the most likely explanation for why this occurred? Let's see. Scope was changed. See, if the scope changes, I may need more time. I may need more money. So if I'm changing the scope and I'm still calculating at with the respect of initial budget, then it may happen that I need more time and more money. But we are project managers taking PMP exam, right? It cannot be that easy. So we have to think critically. And critical thinking is very, very important skill of project managers, especially for PMP and for managing projects, absolutely required. Right? So what does my critical thinking say? My critical thinking says it is just changed. How do you know that it was increased or decreased? Right? So I'm very critical about anything that I see. Right? So I'm asking a question. How do you know whether the scope was increased or decreased? It is just saying changed. So this is probably not a likely explanation. If it is increased, probably it will impact the schedule and cost. But what if it was decreased? It should have been more than one. Right? So this is not a likely explanation. Because it is just saying changed. It's not saying more or less. Right? A supplier went out of business and a new one needed to be found. See, if a supplier goes out of business, I will have to find new supplier, which means I'll spend some time. My SPI will get impacted. Right? If I'm finding somebody, I'm spending time, which means I'm also spending money. So my cost will get impacted. So this is a likely explanation of why my SPI or CPI will get impacted. But again, We have to be critical. Okay, so how do we know that the new one was more costlier or less costly? Certainly, it will impact the schedule for sure in bad manner because I am doing some extra work than what I had planned. So it will definitely impact my schedule. That is for sure. So this could be a likely explanation for a schedule. But what do you know about cost? We don't know. Right? Maybe the new supplier is less costlier, or maybe the new supplier is faster as well. So it may not impact my SPI as well. Right? So the moment you start being critical, you will start realizing that these words are exactly what it means. We cannot assume, and definitely in PMP, you cannot assume. Scope was changed did not mean whether it is increased or decreased, eliminated. Supplier went out of business and a new one needed to be found. I don't know whether the new supplier charged less or did it for free. Right? So it is a likely explanation, but is the most likely? I don't know, so I'll park it. Because it may or may not impact. Okay. Now, additional equipment needed to be purchased. Now we are saying additional equipment was required than what we had planned. Of course, additional means more than the plan. So in that case, CPI will definitely get impacted. Because we are saying that we needed one more. We are not saying it was just changed. We are saying additional was required. So CPI will definitely get impacted. But will it impact the SPI also? We don't know. Maybe the time that we spend in purchasing the new equipment, now that we have more equipment, we may finish faster. Right? So C is also not a good choice because it is only telling me about CPI. It is not telling me anything about SPI. Then we go to D. A critical path activity took longer and needed more labor hours to complete. Longer means more than what I had planned for. More labor hours means more than what I had planned for. So if it is taking longer, it will impact my SPI. If it is taking more labor hours to complete, it will impact my CPI. So now I have a choice which tells me that it will impact the schedule and it will impact the cost as well, which is much, much better than B, because B did not tell me whether there's a direct relation between supplier going out of business and finding a new one. Right? So that's how critical thinking is tested in the exam. Whenever you look at information, why is it tested? Because as a project manager, whenever you look at the information, you should be able to understand whatever is said rather than assuming and making some decisions. Right? If I made that decision based on a scope change, I would not have improved myself. I would have said, okay, because the customer changed the scope, that's why I got my schedule and cost got impacted. So I will not do any improvement work in my project. What would happen after a month or after 2 months? Same thing. SPI and CPI will still get impacted. And then I'll come to know, okay, this time scope was not added or not changed, and still I'm facing an issue. Then you will do the analysis. Okay. That's why it is very, very important that we understand the information well, do not assume anything, and be critical about whatever we are seeing so that we do a good detailed analysis and understand the real reason of why it would have happened. Okay? That is why they test you. I hope this video helped you understand about the earned value analysis a little bit better. As you could see, we have seen a lot of charts and graphs, the S-curve, and how do we compare the plan and actual. Try this for a sample project and you will learn a little bit better about the same topic. If you're managing traditional approach project, I would remind you again, try to use this technique. It will help you a great deal in tracking the progress of your project. Do let me know your feedback in the comments. Thank you so much.